Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Do watch my video from full to end to have a good understanding of how we can find elements using different strategies in native application. So in this video we are going to see what are the possible ways in which we can find elements for Android, iOS and Windows application. So without wasting time, let's get started. So for this I will just create a new Java class and I will name it as Appium, maybe element. I will name it Appium Locator Strategy. Now I will just copy and paste this code from here, and I will remove this thing. Maybe I will just remove this thing and I will write something maybe. So now here what we can do, we'll just remove this thing. Now if we want to find elements, so let us go and see like in what possible ways we can find elements for Android, Windows and iOS application. So I have written a small document which is here. So these are the native locator strategies and the platform which are supported by these strategies. So if we go here, we can see that accessibility ID and automation ID, these are all supported by Android, iOS and Windows. Name, it is supported by Android, iOS and Windows. Class name, it is supported by Android, iOS and Windows. UI Automator, it is supported only by Android. Predicate string, it is only supported by iOS. Class chain, it is only supported by iOS. And Xpath, it is only supported by Android, iOS and Windows. So if you can see, there is one remark for Windows. So for Windows, the locator strategy is supported via WinApp driver. We cannot use Appium driver directly, so we need to use WinApp driver to find the locators in Windows application. Windows application driver is a service to support Selenium like UI test automation on Windows application. The service supports testing universal Windows platform, Windows Form, Windows Presentation Foundation, and classic Windows apps on Windows 10 PCs. So it will only work on Windows 10 PCs. So if we see like how we can identify elements using ID, this is one of the simplest and most common used location strategy. So if we see, we can find element using IDs, and it is one of the most common and simplest used locator strategy. In fact, every element has own ID associated with it. In Android, we can use attribute as ID and resource ID, and for execute test we can use name or label. So let us go and see for Android how we can write this strategy. So if we go here back and we write something like driver dot. Okay, so first let us go and launch our Appium server so that we can identify the elements. Now I will just launch my application for which I want to find the element. So these are the desired capabilities for my application, and I will start the session. So if we inspect anything, maybe something like OS, and we will try to find if ID is there. So we can see that here is the ID, but there is one catch here. So what is the catch? So if we can see that each element has a resource ID, but that resource ID is common across all elements. So if I'm changing this, you can see that resource ID, if I go to my document, so in Android we can use attribute as ID or resource ID, right? But resource ID here is not unique. Every element has a unique, should have unique resource ID, but here every element share the same resource ID. So in that case, what we can see that the index is different. So here it is 0 for the same resource ID, here it is 1. So we can do something like this, like we can tap on the index on which we want to click or find text or anything. So now let us find the element for the Android app for using Locator ID strategy. So here what we can do, we will just write a web element. So you can use both web element and mobile element, and the variable name that I am going to write is Locator Strategy is equal to driver dot find element by id. So let us see if it is going to work or not. So here, as we have already seen, we need to pass the id. So let us take this. Now we have already discussed that each of these elements are having same locator id, so we cannot use it, because if we will use it, it will be clicking on any random element. So we need to identify like uniquely. So for that, what we can do, we can just, we have seen that it is having different index, right? So we can pass the index at which we want to uh, click or maybe get text. So what we can do, we can just write get one. So actually here what we can do, we can just write find elements. So here we are getting one issue, so let us see what is the issue. Okay, so here we can cast this to org openqs selenium WebDriver, and it will resolve our issue. So IntelliJ is already giving us the suggestion. Yeah, now let us see if it is going to work or not. So we are just going to print this, and we are going to print the text. Now let us run and see if it is working fine or not. So our server is already running here, and we will try running it. So you can see the logs here, it is launching, and let us wait. So here you can see it is printing the text accessibility, and if we go here, accessibility is at index 1. So now if I change the index, maybe I change to index 3, so it should print at index 3 what it is. It is app. So now let us run and see if it is working. So it should print app right here. So we will wait and see. So yeah, app is printing. Now let us see other way of doing the same thing. So I will just copy paste this, and in how we can find element by id. Now what we are going to do, we are so as per the document, now let us see that how we can find the element by accessibility id. So for finding the element by accessibility id, what we are going to do, we are just going to define the same thing, and I'm just going to comment this out. And here what I will do, I will just write by accessibility id. And now I will go to Appium inspector to find the accessibility id. So say for example, I want to find the accessibility or id of preference. So Appium inspector is already suggesting me the accessibility id. So I will just copy it and I will paste it here. And since this is a unique id, I will just remove this get thing, and now I will try and run if I can get and fetch the text for this locator. Okay, so okay, so here what wrong I am doing, actually I need to find element, not find element. So now I will run it again. So yeah, it is working fine. So here we can say that we were able to find element using accessibility ID. Now let us go and see another way. So for name, actually you can do these are the text locator name. So here this is the name, and maybe you can also say this is the name. So you can make use of Xpath and text to create the locator strategy. So we will be seeing how to create Xpath later in the video. So maybe that is not relevant now, we can just see there. Now let us go and find element using class name. So as we have already seen, the app source hierarchy in inspector tags are nothing but a class name. So for iOS it will be execute element type, and for Android it will be a UI Automator class which begins with Android widget. So basically, in short, this is the class name. Now what we will do, we will try finding the element using class name. So if we click here, we will see that this class name is not unique, and it is same for all the elements, right? So what we can do in order to find the element using class name, we will just go here and I will just copy this thing and I will comment this out, and here we can write maybe by class. Now I will uncomment out these two things, and here I want to find element using class name. So here what I will do, I will just write maybe by class name. So yeah, we have an option, and now the class name is this. So I will just copy this thing and I will add it here. So here we are using elements because it is a list of web elements, and all the elements have the same class name here on this page. So on which index I want to click, so I can define that. So if I want to click on NFC, that is on index 7, so I will just write index 7. So I want to get text for the element at index 7, so I can just write get 7, and now I will try to run it. So yeah, at index 7, okay, we are getting media at index 7, right? So okay, so because we are counting it from 0, that's why it is like this is like actually not 7, this is actually 6, so that's why we are getting media. So if you want to get for NFC, maybe I will just write it at 8, and now I will run it again. So yeah, we are getting NFC here, and so I think the issue was happening because of this thing. So this is sharing the same class name, so at index 0 maybe there are two elements, that's why that issue was happening. So usually any index starts with 0, so 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So by logic it should be able to find the element by index 7, but maybe because of some internal structure how the app is created, it is not able to find the element at index 7 with NFC. So let's not go deep into that, and now I will try to find element using uh, other strategy. So the other strategy is UI Automator selector. So for UI Automator selector, I will just comment this out. So for UI Automator selector, I have already created some videos on my YouTube channel. So I will attach the video link and you guys can watch it later. Now we are going to see how to find element using Okay, so we are going to see how to find element using, maybe with we left this thing, right? We left this thing, right? How to find element using content disk. So in Android we are having accessibility ID also, and there is an attribute called content disk, so we can make use of content disk with Xpath maybe in order to find the element. So if I want to find the element using content disk, what I will do, I will just go here, and maybe I will just copy this thing and I will paste it here, and here I will like, so content disk can be used with Xpath. We are going to see how we can write the Xpath also, and how we can make use of content disk also to find the locator strategy. So we are just going to write this thing, and now what I will do, I will just try to find the element by Xpath, and here I can just remove this thing, and for the XPath we can create an XPath strategy. And in order to create the XPath strategy, I am going to use the class name. So what I will do, I will just go here and I will pick up the class. So this is the class for this, and now I am going to pass the content disk. So in order to pass the content disk, I need to define that it is a content disk. So I will just copy this thing, and maybe if I want to find element for graphics, then I can just write content disk as graphic. And now what I will do, I am going to let Mac know that I am going to run this on Mac. So I'm just going to give double hyphen backslash double backslash, and then I am going to write the content disk locator which I'm using. So I'm using graphics, and I'm going to pass it here. And now after doing this much, okay, so maybe, okay, I need to remove this thing. Yeah, now it is working. So here in this technique we are going to see how we are going to make use of XPath and content disk to create a unique locator strategy. Now let us see if it is working fine or not for Android. Okay, so we got some error, it was not able to find the element. Okay, so maybe I made a wrong XPath strategy. Now I will try to run it again. So you need to be very careful like how you are designing the locator strategy. Okay, so now it is working fine. So because I missed this double backslash, it was not working. So you need to be very careful like how you are choosing and designing the queries, because if you are not designing the queries, then even a single mismatch can cause your application to not find that element. So yeah, so these are the ways you can find elements by different approach in Android. And later, maybe in the new video, I am going to okay, so these things are going to work similarly for iOS also, like ID, accessibility ID, name. But I am going to create a new video for predicate, string, and class chain for iOS, which is like not available in Android. So we are going to see how class chain and predicate strings work. So we are going to have a separate video for these things. But for others, I think for iOS you can just make use of this Android video and try to figure out how you can find elements. So hope you like my video. Do subscribe to my channel, and let me know if you want me to create any particular video for mobile testing, and leave a comment for that, and I will try to create a new video of that. So do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.